Well, let's talk a little bit about depression. So, depression is something categorized as like a level of sadness that gets to the point where it's actually clinical. And everyone has their ideas of depression, but most of us get our ideas shaped by, admittedly, the media. I know my first impression of depression actually came from a Zoloft commercial I saw when I was a kid. And it sent me down the wrong understanding of depression. And I'll bet it did for millions of other people as well. So I actually went on YouTube and I found the Zoloft commercial, and I'm going to share it with you right now.
You feel the weight of sadness. You may feel exhausted, hopeless, and anxious. Whatever you do, you feel lonely and don't enjoy the things you once loved. Things just don't feel like they used to. These are some symptoms of depression, a serious medical condition affecting over 20 million Americans. While the cause is unknown, depression may be related to an imbalance of natural chemicals between nerve cells in the brain. Prescription Zoloft works to correct this imbalance. You just shouldn't have to feel this way anymore. Only your
The kind announcer guy says, depression is a very serious medical condition, the cause of which is unknown. And then he goes on to say, but it may be caused by a chemical imbalance. And I heard that as a kid, and I was like, oh, okay. It's a serious medical condition and the cause of which is unknown. That sounds pretty simple. And I guess you got to get this pill because you must have this chemical imbalance, and you take the pill, I suppose, and that's gonna make your chemicals balanced, I suppose, is what they're implying. I don't know. They just said you shouldn't have to feel this way. So it all sounds pretty good, you know. The problem is it's misleading. It's misleading. It's done that way because, well, as we can understand, these advertisers have a purpose in mind, and their purpose is to sell.
doctor can diagnose depression.
Excuse me, I'm having a technical issue here. But their purpose is to sell Zoloft. That's their job, right? So their objective is not to properly educate the masses, but how ironic that many of us are getting our education about this serious medical illness from commercials. And we assume they must be true. I mean, why would they put that commercial up there? But as of this moment, if you have any mystery about the cause of depression, because as they said, the cause of depression is unknown. If you have any mystery about that, I can clear that up for you right now. The cause of depression is not unknown. The cause of depression is when you go through something, or you experience something, or you witness something that violates your values. That's what causes depression. It's experiencing something that violates your values. It's seeing something in the world or in your life that's unacceptable and feeling powerless to do anything about it. And so it always has kind of those two parts to it. It's both unacceptable to you, but you feel powerless to do anything about it. So the concept that they present is like, well, this may be a chemical imbalance. Well, they have to present that concept because their goal is to sell their medication. And don't get me wrong, their medication may be effective for certain people. But saying that it's a chemical imbalance is not telling the whole story. Again, it's misleading. Because when there's something in your life or something that you're witnessing that's unacceptable, and that makes you feel powerless, you're going to get sad and you're going to feel depression. The feeling in your body is cortisol. That is a chemical. There's a lot of it. So I guess you could say it's imbalanced, but that's not the cause of depression. The chemicals are there because you are depressed, not you are depressed because you have a lot of chemicals. Does that make sense? The chemicals are being released by your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind runs your chemical release system along with all of the cool systems in your body that makes your body able to work properly and takes care of those things so that you don't have to focus on that, right? So you're not like, oh, I need to digest the food in my stomach and keep the blood flowing and keep my heart pumping. You don't have to think about any of that because your subconscious mind, it's a supercomputer back there, and animals and people have these supercomputers that just run their systems for them so that you can just focus on being you, enjoying life. So your subconscious mind perceives, oh, wow, this is something unacceptable, and we feel powerless. I think we better send some cortisol, some chemicals to communicate to the conscious self that something needs to be done and that we're not happy with the way things are. So what happens when we receive this feeling into the body, and all of us will feel a sensation like this because unfortunately we live in a topsy-turvy world full of disappointments, sad situations, violent situations, and death. And so all of us will experience sadness. But what happens is when you receive this feeling and these chemicals in your system, when you continue to just view the matter as being out of your control and perceiving the matter as being unacceptable, you will continue to feel depression. And as you continue to feel depression, the cortisol overwhelms your system. So you literally, when you say, I don't feel like exercising, you literally do not feel like exercising. When you say, I don't feel like eating, you don't feel like eating. Or you may eat to try to off balance those chemicals and try to make yourself feel a little bit better. So you may eat too much. When you say you don't feel like talking or feel like getting out of bed, yes, because you're getting overwhelmed by these negative, painful chemicals, but they're being released because your thoughts are looped on this unacceptable situation that you feel powerless to change. This is unacceptable, but I'm powerless. It's unacceptable, but I'm powerless. And as you focus on that, your subconscious mind has the perception that says, okay, I'll do my job. So my point is the chemical imbalance, the flood of chemicals you're getting is not because you're broken. Is that because you were born with that chemical imbalance? It's not because you are defective. In fact, it's the opposite. You are actually effective. Your system is working exactly as it should. Because when your subconscious mind perceives that something is just unacceptable and you're powerless to do anything about it, it's supposed to make you feel bad. You're not supposed to feel happy when you witness unacceptable things. So the emotion that you're feeling is a communication from your automatic computer system. The maladaptive approach is to say, I feel sad, so I'm going to curl up in a ball and I'm just going to continue to feel more sad and I'm going to think more sad thoughts. And then I want to think more sad thoughts on top of that. And the more sad thoughts, of course, make you feel more sad. And so I'll solve this by thinking more sad thoughts. And I'm just going to focus on what makes me sad. I'm not going to try to solve it because I believe that I'm powerless. I'm just going to focus on what makes me sad. And as you do that, you keep feeling worse, right? It's maladaptive because where does this lead? Nowhere good. Nowhere good. It leads to you losing more of what you already have. It leads to you ending up in the hospital. It leads to you being prescribed medication. It leads to you having suicidal ideation, all of which is detrimental to the self. All of it's detrimental. So the maladaptive approach is to continue to focus on what it is that's making you feel depressed. But it can feel really natural to do that, especially if you're already a survivor of trauma. Why that is, I'll talk about in a moment. But the adaptive approach to having a situation that's unacceptable and that makes you feel powerless is to change the way you view it so that you no longer view it as being something unacceptable, or choose to take action and to come into your power. See, when you take away the aspect of it being unacceptable, or you take away the aspect of you being powerless, it no longer causes you to feel depressed. It no longer is perceived in the mind as something that needs to feed you cortisol. And so you will lift out of your depression, and this can be virtually instantaneous. There is no profit in teaching people how to control their thoughts. That's why you're not going to see a national Zoloft ad going out to tell people, oh, hey, look, if you change your perception of your event that you see as unacceptable, or you come into your personal power, you're going to feel better. No one can make money telling you that. It's just empowering people. But I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is that you are not powerless. You are empowered. So let's take some examples here. Let's imagine an example that could make some people feel depressed, such as a man who loses his wife. His wife says, you know what, you're too sad, you mope around too much. I'm leaving and I'm taking the kids with me. I don't like your attitude. And the man says, as a response, oh my God, this is terrible. Now my wife has left me, and he goes into a depression. Likely, if he goes into a depression, he has some extreme thoughts, because the extreme emotion is precipitated by the extreme thoughts. So the extreme thoughts might be, this is proof that I can never be loved. My wife will never come back. I'll never see my kids again. Very extreme thinking, right? But either way, he goes into a depression. If he views himself as powerless in the situation, well, I can do nothing now. My wife is gone. She took my kids. Well, he'll continue to spiral, and you know where this leads. Medications, prescriptions, diagnoses, hospital, and possibly worse, right? Does he get his kids back? Probably not. Is his wife going to come back? Is his wife going to feel sorry for him that he decided to mope around and feel and fall into a depression? No. When he goes on medication, is his wife going to feel sorry and come back? No. Is his wife going to come back when he goes to the hospital? No. It's unlikely. What's the point? The point is it's a maladaptive approach, meaning it doesn't work. It doesn't work for life. The reason why we feel sad is because we're good people. He's a good guy. That's why he feels sad. If he was a jerk, he wouldn't care if he lost his wife and kids. He's a good person, so he feels the pain. But if you allow yourself to just stay stuck there in the sadness, and you never progress forward to a little bit of madness, then you're never going to come out of the situation that's causing your depression in the first place. And so the depression compounds upon itself, the situation compounds upon itself, and it doesn't have a happy ending. But what can he do? If he focuses his mind instead on what he can do, so his wife has left, she's taken the kids, and he says, you know what, I'm not totally powerless. True, I can't stop her from leaving. I can't make her give me my children back, but there's things I can do. I can hire a lawyer and fight for my rights as a father. I can make sure I change what it is that my wife has said that she doesn't like about me and why she left in the first place. So now he's going to the gym, he's taking care of his health, he's taking care of his mental health, right? And he's doing what he needs to do to change his situation. And what begins to happen as he starts thinking in terms of how he's powerful and what he can do instead of the powerlessness of his situation? What begins to happen? Well, he's feeling differently. And ultimately, even after a period of time where he may have had to been sad, his situation changes. And he has the best chance of either attracting his wife back or attracting another mate who's suitable and healthy, and being able to take care of his children because he's changed the circumstances in his life that led to him losing the children in the first place. Do you understand? So now the man is empowered. When the man is empowered, the depression goes away and the cause of their depression goes away. The cause is not unknown. He is going through something. That is why he's depressed. He is a good person and he lost something that's important to him. That is why he feels depressed. The cause is not unknown. Okay, so let's take another example. So a mother whose daughter is injured, she feels bad. Her daughter went outside to play and the daughter ends up getting hit by a car and she breaks both of her legs. Now the mother feels depressed. She feels like, I'm such a bad mom because I let my daughter get hurt. Why would anyone who's a good mom let their daughter get hurt? That's her question. And so in her mind, she says, I'm a bad mom. That thinking is extreme. Her emotions are thus extreme. And now she goes into a depression. She goes into a depression. Now, when she's in that depressed state, if she continues to focus on this idea that she's a bad mom, well, the depression is going to compound upon itself, right? But instead, if she changes her perception, instead of seeing this situation as unacceptable, she realizes that it is acceptable that mistakes may happen. It is acceptable that children may get hurt. It does not make her a bad mom. Once she realizes that what happened does not make her a bad mom, thus she no longer views the situation as being unacceptable, immediately she's lifted out of the depression. At the very moment she changes her belief, she's lifted up out of the depression. Is it that simple? Yes, it's that simple. Is it easy? For some people, yes. Some people will literally be able to just hear this talk and they'll be able to work through their issue and get themselves out. Others, not so much. They may need a little bit of help. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why therapists exist. And so we're here to help you get through that situation. But what I won't allow you to do is to be mystified or uneducated on what is really happening. Because when doctors, professionals, or drug salespeople are telling you it just comes down to a chemical imbalance, likely that's not true, especially when you can actually trace the cause of your depression to an actual situation, right? So it's very important that we realize what is really causing the depression. There's something unacceptable in our life, and we're choosing to view ourselves as powerless. Now, the reason this can be very difficult for trauma survivors is because we tend to be vulnerable when we should get mad, and we tend to get mad when we should be vulnerable. Here's what I mean by that. We tend to be vulnerable when we should get mad, as in, we lost a friend or someone betrayed us, and we should just get mad and X them out of our friend group and just unfollow them on social media. But instead we get sad and we say, oh, you know what? This means that there's something wrong with me. I'm the one, I'm the problem. And as a result, they go off into a maladaptive response, which is being sad when you should be mad. This was an opportunity to get a little mad and be like, you know what? It wasn't right for them to betray me, and to stand up for yourself. When someone is violating your boundaries, it could be like a boss at work is violating your boundaries. You can get sad and feel depressed and feel like, I don't feel like going in anymore. I don't want to work anymore. Or you can get mad and stand up for yourself. The maladaptive approach is to be sad when you should be mad. But then there's the opposite, where we should be vulnerable, but we choose to get angry. So this is a lot of times manifest when you're speaking to your spouse, you're having a conversation, and the conversation escalates to an argument, and they say something that hurts you. And your response is, what did you just say to me? I know you didn't just say that to me. And you get angry. But really what you should do in that situation with a loved one is get vulnerable. And so instead of going after them with all of the harshest, meanest things that you could say, or potentially physical violence, what you should do instead is just let that tear fall. Let them see that what they said hurt you. You could even say, that really hurt. Being vulnerable at the right time is more effective because that's going to get the reaction out of your mate more likely than yelling at them and calling them names. Calling them names isn't going to make them say, you know what, I'm so sorry, are you okay? No, they're going to start defending themselves, right? But showing vulnerability causes the mate to say, are you okay? I'm sorry, right? We get what we actually want. So the fact that it works means that it is adaptive. When it doesn't work, it's maladaptive. Why is it so hard for us as trauma survivors to make sure we're responding in a way that's adaptive per situation? Well, it's because your emotional system was actually used against you, was weaponized against you in your upbringing. In the time period of your complex trauma, which for most of us that was the childhood, your emotional system was weaponized against you. Your mom and dad wanted you to feel fear, so they would say things and do things to make you feel fear. They would want you to get upset. They would want you to feel hurt. They would want you to feel embarrassed. So to weaponize these feelings against you. And since these feelings got weaponized against you, you didn't learn that you could manage the feelings. You thought that the feelings are to manage you. So now you feel like when you get an overwhelming feeling, if it's sadness or madness or anger or embarrassment, it is too much. Embarrassment goes all the way to shame. Madness goes all the way to rage. Sadness goes all the way to depression. Fear goes all the way to clinical anxiety. Because you believe you cannot regulate the emotion because the emotion is there to control you. But now that you're an adult, look around. Sometimes you gotta look at yourself in the mirror and realize, whoa, hold on. I'm not a victim anymore. I am not a kid anymore. And recognize nobody's using my emotions against me. I control my emotional state. I decide. No one else can make the decision for me as to how I will feel. Your parents may have weaponized it against you, but you don't have to stay in that state. You're raised in a household where showing the wrong emotion could get you hurt. So if you showed anger in your household, it may have been something where you would get punished really harshly for showing that anger. But then if you show vulnerability, it may have been something where you get laughed at, teased, mocked, and humiliated for being vulnerable. So you learn, how is a child supposed to survive in this environment? For a complex trauma survivor, the route they take is, okay, I'm going to kill my soul. I'll just murder my soul. So now I am nothing inside. I have no ego. Whatever you want, I'll do. Whatever you feel, that's what's right. I am desperate for some type of love, and I will do anything for it. And so you become a master of understanding people's emotions, managing their emotions. Do you need anything? Do you need anything? You become the ultra servant. You become the people pleaser. You become the high achiever. And it's all in this effort to manage everyone and make sure everyone else is okay because you are just dead inside. Because that's the only way you feel you can actually survive. You can actually get some type of emotional needs met by ignoring your emotional self. And that's ironic, isn't it? Yes. But that's why it's a maladaptive approach. And so now we must learn to pull back from all of those tendencies, recognize our power, recognize that we are adults now, that we are strong now, that we have a voice now, that we have rights now. And no one is any more valuable than we are, is any more worthwhile than we are. Every human being's got equal worth and value, man or woman, white or black, grown up or child. Everyone's got equal worth and value in this world. So that means I have equal worth and value as well. And once we can apply the way that we would care for another person to caring for ourselves, then we recognize ourselves and we can resurrect our soul. When your soul is resurrected, then you can pay attention to your emotions because you realize they're important. And when you care for your emotions, then you don't need to allow them to spiral because the spiraling of the emotions is from the spiraling of the thoughts. And you have control over your thoughts in that whatever pops in your head, even if it came in automatically, you can focus your mind on what you want to focus your mind on. So I can decide to say, I am not powerless in this situation. I can do something. So let's say you're depressed because you don't feel like your career is really making a difference. You can just be sad and sit on the couch and eat cookies. Or you can say, I am not powerless in this situation. I can start applying for jobs or set up my own company. And in that very moment, you will no longer be depressed. You will now be determined to do what you need to do. We need to turn depression into determination. We need to turn that sadness into madness that is a determined mind state of focus to do what it is that needs to be done and not accept the circumstance that we find to be unacceptable. So instead of saying, I can't take this, we say, I won't take this. I will take action. Your depression is not uncurable. If you're struggling with depression and you would like some help, just reach out. You can send me an email, text message. You can hit me through the website. Reach out and we will do work on your depression. It will take about an hour. Yes, you heard me correctly. We will diminish your depression within 1 hour. And there's folks in this room here who have worked with me. We've had one session and the anxiety is gone. And I'm checking back with them through the week and they're like, yeah, I'm fine. My anxiety hasn't returned in any harsh way. So what is that? I'll tell you what that is. That's something that drug companies don't want you to learn. And I'm not anti-medication. Utilizing medication can have its benefits, but I want you to know that you're empowered and you can take action to cure your own depression, or you can work with a therapist to do so. So please reach out if you would like to do that.